Good morning and welcome to Monday Matins for First Christian Church, Bellingham, Washington. I'm Tamalyn Krollman and I'm happy to be with you this morning. We're going to start with Proverbs 15:13. A glad heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is broken. This week we're going to be talking about sorrow and suffering, and I know it's not a happy subject, but it seems to be a topic that comes up a lot lately. The book we're going to be reading from both today and on Friday for our Friday Vespers is The Art of Happiness, a Handbook for Living. It's written by Dr. Howard C. Cutler, and it comprises a bunch of conversations he had with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You may be familiar with this book. If not, I encourage you to get your hands on a copy because it's a lot of encouraging stories and words. I'm starting with a story that's in the beginning of chapter 8, and this chapter is entitled Facing Suffering. In the time of the Buddha, a woman named Kisa Gotami suffered the death of her only child. Unable to accept it, she ran from person to person, seeking a medicine to restore her child to life. The Buddha was said to have such a medicine. Kisa Gotami went to the Buddha, paid homage, and asked, "Can you make a medicine that will restore my child?" "I know of such a medicine," said the Buddha, "but in order to make it, I must have certain ingredients." Relieved, the woman asked, "What ingredients do you require?" "Bring me a handful of mustard seed," said the Buddha. The woman promised to procure it for him, but as she was leaving, he added, "I require the mustard seed to be taken from a household where no child, spouse, parent, or servant has died." The woman agreed and began going from house to house in search of the mustard seed. At each house, the people agreed to give her the seed, but when she asked them if anyone had died in that household, she could find no home where death had not visited. In one house, a daughter, in another, a servant, in others, a husband or parent had died. Kisa Gotami was not able to find a home free from the suffering of death. Seeing she was not alone in her grief, the mother let go of her child's lifeless body and returned to the Buddha, who said with great compassion, "You thought that you alone had lost a son. The law of death is that among all living creatures, there is no permanence." The Dalai Lama talks about loss and grief. He says there's really no avoiding the fact that suffering is a part of life. And of course, we have a natural tendency to dislike our sufferings and problems. But I think that ordinary people don't view the very nature of our existence to be characterized by suffering. I mean, on your birthday, people usually say, "Happy birthday," when actually the day of your birth was the birth of your suffering. But nobody says, "Happy birth of suffering day," he joked. In accepting that suffering is part of your daily existence, you could begin by examining the factors that normally give rise to feelings of discontent and mental unhappiness. Generally speaking, for instance, you feel happy if you or people close to you receive praise, fame, fortune, and other pleasant things. And you feel unhappy and discontent if you don't achieve these things or if your rival is receiving them. If you look at your normal day-to-day life, however, you often find that there are so many factors and conditions that cause pain, suffering, and feelings of dissatisfaction, whereas the conditions that give rise to joy and happiness are comparatively rare. This is something that we have to undergo whether we like it or not. And since this is the reality of our existence, our attitude towards suffering may need to be modified. Our attitude towards suffering becomes very important because it can affect how we cope with suffering when it arises. Now, our usual attitude consists of an intense aversion and intolerance of our pain and suffering. However, if we can transform our attitude towards suffering, adopt an attitude that allows us greater tolerance of it, then this can do much to help counteract feelings of mental unhappiness, dissatisfaction, and discontent. We'll delve into that a little bit further on Friday if you're available to join me. And if not, you can always watch our Facebook page and our weekly emails for more information on the links to these gatherings. I invite you now to pause and breathe slowly, deeply. Breathe in God's Spirit. Breathe out all the negative thoughts and energies that have been gathering within you. Breathe in the strength that you can find, the strength that Spirit brings to carry you through the week ahead, the strength to carry you through all the joys and the sorrows that may come your way this week. Breathe out any doubts about your own abilities that you may have to face it all, the doubts that you may have about your own abilities to face whatever may come. Breathe in peace. Breathe out chaos. And may Spirit walk with you throughout your week. May peace be with you.